Yes. Chandra?
I think there are three important roles that the CIO is performing today. Definitely the operations role to keep the systems running with no disruption. Second one, the strategy role is becoming very important, primarily because about 10 years ago, IT used to support business. Today, the technology is so fast evolving that IT can lead the business in terms of new business models. Unless or otherwise, that IT capability and what is happening in the technology is well understood by the business leaders, there is no way new business models are possible. So for this reason, there is a strategy role, and and the CIO has to be part of the integral strategy team in the company. And the third one is sourcing, whether you have a separate sourcing which works for the CFO and CIO, or the CIO does the sourcing function. It's a material, but having a CIO, having a CFO, and having a chief sourcing officer, I think would be too many.
No, I mean, today, if you take Edge, sourcing is becoming as important as selling, because selling is about top line growth, and sourcing is about getting the optimal use of the resources, deployment of the resources, etc. Whether you do in-house, offshore, onshore, etc. So I'm not suggesting you have all these different roles, but maybe if you have any thoughts on how do you really upgrade the role and encompassing all that.
I've been in the press more than enough to say, if we go back to the CIO first, become a chief influencing officer, because if not, you're going to be outsourced. Okay. The other one about the sourcing, I'm actually in agreement with both Brian, Chandra, and even Sudeep, absolutely spot on, is that to actually create another role, it's too much.
No, not another role, but I mean,
but it's just as important.
As a responsibility.
I think at the C class, and I'm quite provocative, and sometimes with even boards I deal with and global clients, is that if you don't have a sourcing strategy, and you as a CEO, as a CFO or CIO don't even understand it, that means you're not actually doing your job. So you need to have sourcing or that sort of skill set, strategy skill set, as part of being the C-class executive. So that's my view on that. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's been very interesting discussion. I would like to open the floor now for questions. You have about 10 minutes or so for questions. Yeah. Where is it? Yes. Yes, please. Microphones are there. There's no microphone?
Oh, there we are. This one here.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sunil Mirani from Ugam Solutions, a provider of research and analytics services. My question is probably to Chandra and Brian. In making these new models successful, the outcome-based models, how much of it is dependent on the client itself, its own savviness, its own understanding of what it wants and metrics, and how much leverage it's willing to give to the vendor over the levers that he needs to control? And secondly, from the vendor's perspective, how much are they in control, or how much leverage they have over their clients to educate them and move to that direction without coming across as presumptuous or arrogant?
I can jump in. I don't think they'll work unless the outcome is front and center for the customer, unless they're driving it and they're looking for a way to get it done. If they don't go into it with that, it won't work. So the other, just on your second point piece, comes back to the nature of what you're trying to do. So depending on the function, sometimes it requires a lot from the company, and other times it doesn't require as much because it can happen in the background. But I think ultimately, as Chandra mentioned, you can spend a lot of time understanding this, because everyone's kind of taking risk on in this equation, and you need to have the intent. Everyone has the intent to get to the same place, and then the commitment to get there. And you really need to understand it before you go sign up for it.
Chandra?
I think first of all, there has to be clarity on both sides in terms of what the final business outcome has to be. And then I like to call it Y is equal to F of X. Okay, Y is the benefit you want, and there may be multiple X's. Okay, and we've got to have a clear grip on all the X's, which are the levers which you're going to use in order to deliver that outcome Y. In that situation, the capability that the vendor has, okay, along with the customer support, has to be definitive for both sides. Okay, that's very, very important. And it is not a way of making money. Yes, definitely there is a premium pricing and you get higher margins and all the rest of it. But the certainty of outcome is very, very important, because you kill a business by not delivering on the promise, and you lose a huge reputation. So it will take longer time to structure the contract. Okay, as I said, in the banking situation, we almost did year and a half of upfront work, and in fact, after the consulting work, we first reduced a certain portion of the ratio by doing the process improvement work. Then the whole thing became very clear. Then we converted the whole contract into a very definitive, tight, aggressive contract. So both sides have to play ball.
Thanks.
Add point to that. You know, when companies go public and they determine the IPO price, they intentionally price it at about 93% because they want that initial kick, and that builds momentum. So I think that analogy applies here, and I think, Brian, you were making the point in that many of these relationships, they start out with you're delegated to a person in the procurement or sourcing or an analyst, and from there it becomes more of a getting into more detail rather than looking at the overall strategy of where you're trying to go. If you can manage that, I mean, it is going to be a stock price and it's going to have its ups and downs, but if you can manage the first interaction or the first week and the first month, you're off to a good start.
Okay, probably can take two more questions.